It's time for your Low Country Real Estate Market Update. It's the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. Brian is one of the top 1% real estate agents in Charleston. Find him online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or call him at 843-400-8009. Now, broadcasting from the WTMA studios, here's your host, Brian Beatty.
Good morning, Charleston, and welcome to another edition of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. This marks the 10th year that I have been on this program, helping you better understand the real estate market, the trends within it, and the process of buying, selling, or investing in real estate so that you become an informed consumer. So thank you so much for listening to this program. If we didn't have folks tune in and listen to the information and rely on that advice to help shape their understanding of the market, we wouldn't be here. So thank you for listening to the show. I know we've got a lot of longtime listeners and always appreciate hearing from you guys off air. If you ever want to reach out to me, my number is 843-800-0065. And we get a lot of calls where we're just kind of helping people through the initial parts of the process, talking about, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. What should I know? What should I plan for? And I love those types of phone calls. Of course, we help people buy and sell. We've been in business for 17 years. We've sold over 1,200 homes here locally to the tune of about $1 billion in real estate volume. So always happy to earn your business and appreciate those opportunities as well. So again, if you ever want to reach out to me, if I can ever help you in any way, my number is 843-800-0065. Or you can check us out online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. So here's what I have planned for today. I haven't done this in a while because we typically segment this show where I offer some advice to buyers, I offer some advice to sellers. Maybe I talk about a specific part of the process, or just offer some random advice, and then we talk about the market. This show is going to be a little different. I want to take you through the process, start to finish, of selling a house. Everything from the initial conversation all the way through closing. So that's the plan. And we'll probably take some segues along the way. But that's what I have planned for this show, is to just give you guys a full, comprehensive overview of selling a home in this type of market. And I think this is timely because obviously the market is changing. Right? It has changed. We are not in the market we were in this time last year, where interest rates were at 3%. People were fighting over homes. Multiple offers were expected. And if your home was on the market for more than a week, you were like, what in the world's going on? What's wrong? Now we're back to a bit of a normal market. The inventory of homes that are available for sale hasn't really climbed up yet. We're not sure if it will. But because inventory is low, it's still, technically on paper, if we're looking at data, it's a seller's market. But everybody within the market right now is behaving as if it's a buyer's market. So if you're going to sell your home in this market, I want to take you through this process. And the first step is really just the decision to sell. You have a lot of folks that are thinking about doing it, which an agent can be really helpful in that specific situation, because we can talk about, well, hey, if you were to sell, where would you go? How much could you sell your home for? How much equity do you have that you can apply to your new home, so on and so forth. But I'm going to start as if you've made the decision that you want to sell your home. So I think one of the first types of questions you need to answer is, what type of seller are you? Are you the type of person that needs to sell? Is there something happening in your life that has necessitated a move, or do you just want to? There are plenty of folks that need to sell. We've got job locations. We've got growing families. We've got people that are tired of being in the rental market. Maybe they've gotten their first job, or they've gotten a nice pay bump, and now it's time to buy a house. We're still going to have those necessity-based transactions in any market, but it's a lot different now than it was last year, in that there's not a great financial incentive, because there's, everybody's got a 2-3% interest rate. And so if you're going to sell and then buy something else and you're getting a mortgage, you're going to have to come to grips with the fact that you're going to spend more for that house now than you would have last year because the cost of borrowing the money is a lot higher. So if you're the type of person that just wants to sell, then you need to just answer the question of, are you going to do this on your own, or are you going to hire an agent to help you with the process? And so what a lot of people do, and I want to caution against this, unless you've done this several times and you know how this process goes and you're really comfortable with it, but let's try not to get too ahead of ourselves and start doing a bunch of stuff around the house and telling our friends and so on and so forth. If you've decided to hire an agent, this is the time to call them and have them out to your house. Your goal here should be twofold. One is to just get some necessary information from them so that you can formulate a plan. But, as importantly, you're interviewing and selecting your agent. Now, I really appreciate the sellers that, communicate well. And I know sellers want or require excellent communication from their agent. It's the number one complaint we get when we sell homes that other agents previously listed. And, in the past 2+ years, we haven't seen very many homes that just couldn't sell, right? There was so much demand that properties were flying off the shelf. But prior to COVID, over 60% of the listings that my team and I sold were previously listed by other real estate agents. So I know how important communication is. It's the number one complaint we get when we talk to sellers that had the home on the market with another agent, or the last time they sold their home, they had a real issue with communication with the agent. So when I talk to folks over the phone for the first time and, we go through everything, basically the who, what, when, where, why, and how of selling, it of course turns into a really productive meeting. But this is important. And this is the first piece of advice that I really want to give here. Some agents do a really good job of getting you to divulge information that, frankly, you're not ready to share with them. How much would you like to sell your home for? Or how much do you think your home is worth? Or let's say we end up working together to sell your home. At what price would selling no longer make sense? These are dangerous questions for you to answer. And in other words, they're just asking you what your bottom line is, and they're asking you how much you think your home is worth. If you're only hiring one agent, but you're interviewing 3, those other 2 agents have no business knowing what your bottom line is, because they could represent the buyer to help purchase it. So don't answer that question until you've hired your agent. Now, that's a conversation you and your agent should have, of course, but don't volunteer that information to multiple agents because you can only hire one of them. Additionally, if you have a price in mind you'd like to sell your home for, keep it to yourself. Once the agent knows the price you want to sell your home for, they're going to basically tell you that that's the price that you should list for. What you want is an analysis. You want that agent to prove to you why they think that you should list your home at the price that they suggest, what the home will likely sell for, whether concessions will likely be included or not, and how long it's going to take. But I would caution you against answering questions about how much you want to list your home for, how much you want to sell your home for, or what price you won't go below. Keep that information to yourself. Now, when you're having this initial conversation with these agents, you need to gather some basic information like, what's your home worth? And again, you want that agent to sit down with you and provide you with an analysis. They need to be able to present their opinion based on data and their interpretation of that data. How much equity do you have, and how will you use that to purchase your next property? What, if anything, should be done to the house before it gets officially listed for sale? What needs to be addressed, what could be addressed, and what should not be addressed. And here's a little tip. Agents like to spend your money. Okay? This is where experience really comes into play. Now, if you have a budget for repairs or to make some cosmetic upgrades, let's prioritize those projects and then determine through an analysis how much those repairs will cost and how much money you'll earn as a result. There's a difference between repairs and renovations and remodeling. We always go for repairs first because anytime that buyer walks through the door, they are essentially trained by the buyer agent to find things that can be used against you in the form of negotiations. Obviously, that's going to revolve around the condition of the property. And to be fair, most people don't know how much stuff costs to get fixed. I've been doing this for a long time. I renovate a ton of property. I've spent millions and millions of dollars of my own money on rehab deals and renovations and so on and so forth. I've got a really good understanding of how much things cost. But just as importantly, I have a really good understanding of what should be done to the home that will cause you can look at it two ways, either save money or make money in the transaction. Now, these agents should also have reliable and cost-effective contacts so you don't have to spin your wheels trying to find someone or even worse, hire someone that isn't going to do the job correctly or for too much money or take too long or any of the various nightmares that you can go through when hiring a contractor. And so I would really appreciate the sellers calling the agents before they decide to do a bunch of work. Number one, so that agent can offer up their contacts and can do those projects at a fair price. But, we walk through so many homes where the sellers invite us over and they've already done the lion's share of the work that needs to happen in order to put that property on the market. And it's just never fun, that cringeworthy moment where you find out how much they paid for something that you could have right off the bat saved them thousands of dollars on. So when you're talking to this agent, get a really good plan together for what needs to be repaired and what could be improved if and only if it's going to cause your home to sell faster and or sell it for more money. And there's a return on that investment. When you're talking to this agent, you, of course, also need to better understand what the current state of the market is, right? People that cite national numbers, to me, at least, they're not in tune with the local market, because it's easy for anybody to go online and pull some numbers on what's happening in the national market. And it does help to an extent to understand some of the trends that are happening nationally, because people move to Charleston from all over the country and all over the world. But real estate is local. We need to understand what's happening in your neck of the woods, in your price range, what's affecting buyers looking for homes like yours. What do we need to take into consideration? When should you list the property? Let's look at everything else that's on the market, under contract, or sold in your neighborhood. Maybe there's an opportunity for you to list sooner rather than later, or maybe there's a home that the price just doesn't quite make sense. It's listed for more than it probably should be, and it's under contract. Well, maybe it makes sense to wait until that sale gets recorded so that you benefit from a higher value because of that most recent sale. On the flip side, maybe someone else just listed their property and it's slightly below what you would like for them to be selling that house for, but it's not under contract yet. Maybe you can race and get your home under contract first and sold before that person in that desperate type of situation and that lower sale has an impact on the value of your property. And then we should also be talking about what can be done prior to the property officially hitting the market to generate some interest in the property. There's when you get to the point where you're going to hire an agent and they present you with a listing agreement, you've got two basic options. You can either do it the way most people do it, which is the full-blown marketing plan. You put it on the MLS, you put it on all kinds of websites, you expose the property to anyone and everyone everywhere. The other option is something called a brokerage exclusive, where you don't officially get listed in the MLS. The agent that you hire uses their contacts and the contacts of other agents within their brokerage to basically market your property behind the scenes. And there's a bunch of benefits to that. There's obviously some disadvantages. And if that's something you want to learn more about, then we can have that conversation. One of the things that we do when we go to a seller's home is, we've got a pretty clever way of analyzing our current database of 25,000 people to say, hey, if we're going to list this property in this area at this price, how many buyers do I have for this home right now? And it's usually hundreds, plural. That's a great option for a seller that maybe doesn't need to sell. They'd like to sell. They've got some things they want to do to the house. They know it's going to take a little time. And we behind the scenes can start having conversations with buyers to see who out there might be interested. Maybe even bring a buyer to the table and transact before you go through the process of opening up your home and showing it and so on and so forth. So those are some of the initial things that you want to get some information from your agent on. But then you also, you want to interview them, right? How do they present themselves? How do they analyze, interpret, and advise you? What do they do specifically to market their properties for sale? How do they proactively market your home? This is extremely important because, again, we're in a different market now. Most agents basically threw the property up on the MLS. All the other agents out there that are working with buyers see it. All the agents that have created searches for those buyers would push out that new listing. That buyer would receive an email saying, hey, here are today's new listings. They see it. They want to go and view it in person, potentially make an offer. That was happening at rapid fire for the past 2 years. It's not quite the same now, and I don't think it will be. Obviously, it's not going to be the same as it was when we had 2.5%, 3% interest rates, right? This just a different market, less demand. But you want to understand what that agent is going to do proactively to find buyers for your home, because most of what agents do is very reactive in nature. And what I mean by that is, as soon as an agent enters a property into the MLS, of course, it goes out to all of the agents that have access to it. It goes out to all the buyers that have had searches created by agents, right? So they get an email with the new listing. And then that property syndicates to like thousands of websites, right? It goes to every brokerage's website, every single real estate agent's website that has, an MLS feature to it. It goes on Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, Redfin, you name it. It's exposed to all of those large national portal-based sites. They stick a sign in the yard. Maybe they do an open house. Most agents don't know how to market open houses, but never mind that for now. The point is, most agents are just very reactive in nature. It's kind of this set it and forget it approach. And for a lot of agents, that's all they've needed to do for the past few years, because there was so much demand that the property was going to sell anyways. So from the agent's perspective, we're not this way, but for many agents, the idea was, well, why spend extra money on extra marketing if we're going to sell the property in 2 days anyways? I mean, you can see the rationale behind it, but when you hire a real estate agent, you should hire the one that's going to give you the best shot to make the most money possible and have this be as easy of a transaction as possible. It's not going to be stress-free, because there's no such thing as a stress-free transaction, but you need to have a very clear understanding of what they're going to do personally, proactively, to find buyers for your home. Or maybe they're not going to do that. Maybe they're just going to put it in the MLS and, you can kind of paint the picture in your mind, kick their feet up on the desk and wait for the phone to ring. These are questions you need to ask. You also need to find out, hey, do they have any guarantees? What sort of incentives do they offer? What does accountability look like? How are they held accountable to doing what they say they're going to do? That's a big one. And for a lot of sellers, they're frankly not very happy with their agent, but they don't want to go through the process of taking it off the market and interviewing agents again and going back on the market and blah, blah, blah. So they just deal with it. You want to try and get it right the first time, right? The cost of making a bad hire. We all know that story. And then, of course, you need to find out, how much do they cost? What does their commission look like? And the less value there is, the more the cost is going to be questioned, as it should be. How long is their agreement for? Is there a clear exit strategy if things don't work out? How are they going to communicate with you? What sort of information do they provide to help you understand what they, the agent, are doing on a consistent basis and how they interpret the market's reaction to your home so that you can react to that feedback if necessary? Now, Some of you might be like, look, this is a lot already. We haven't even started showing the property yet, much less negotiated a contract or plan the move or pack the house or so on and so forth. And some of you might just say, look, I trust you. You know what you're doing. Everything's going to work out just fine. Well, I mean, it could. But this year, the market demands more attention, time, effort, and skill than in years past. There's always an opportunity to win or lose a bunch of money when you sell your house. And I'm a firm believer in the idea that agents have a direct impact on your bottom line. So, I mean, obviously you can do things your own way. My job on this show is to educate you, provide you with advice based on my experience as, again, someone that's sold about $1 billion worth of real estate here locally, and just have you benefit from that. We're talking about a lot of money here. So after you've selected your agent, then that's when we start setting some things into motion. And so we're going to take a quick break and we're going to come back and I'm going to talk more about that here in just a minute on the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. Remember, if you want to reach out to me and talk about selling your home, we have variable commission options that go down as low as 2.4%. We've got all kinds of great incentives, like if you sell and buy a home with us, we'll pay your moving expenses. And several other things. So reach out to me personally if you'd like more information on that, 843-800-0065, or check us out online, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Stick around for more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com.
Have a real estate question? Ask Brian Beatty. Send him an email, lowcountryhomesales@gmail.com. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show is on 1250 WTMA.